Hey, this is Bill, and welcome to the Ron and Bill Show. Monetize something. That's going to be the title. Monetize something. Ron and I survived. We're into 4. Ron's had a busy week, and I got this out, and I want to get it out before the end of the month because we had that $5 account, in the Ron and Bill Show, and I'm really happy that he's doing the podcast. But he wanted to just do real fast, wanted to do Zoom. Sometimes Zoom will come out, but I really hate Zoom. Zoom is a terrible platform for podcasting. This is one out of the advanced course. What you want to use is either Google Plus Hangouts, which are okay, and sometimes they're excellent. But the other thing is overall probably the best thing to do on an interview is use the Skype with call recorder. So hopefully next week we get Ron up on Skype with call recorder. He's got the most sophisticated, fancy stuff you can imagine. But if he just had an ATR 2100 hooked into his MacBook Pro, he'd be surprised how good he would sound. But anyway, we're going to get there, and we're having fun. I'm going to really cut this out because we only have 16 megabytes to upload on this $5 account, and I'm going to record it at 64 kilobits. So anyway, we survived. There's some good stuff. We're definitely going to be talking in the Ron and Bill Show about monetizing your brain, monetizing your car, monetizing your laptop, monetizing your desktop, monetizing your dog. I guess you could walk your dog, things of that nature. Well, again, I'm going to sort of go in and out of the show, probably talk a little bit, but I'm going to cut a lot of it out. And of course, we're both really distorted on the high side with Zoom. So the lesson here is don't use Zoom. By the way, as you start your podcast, you're going to evolve. And after about 20 shows, you should become really good. I'm expecting Ron to get really good at podcasting in about 3 or 4 more shows because he's got a pretty good background. As long as we get set up correctly and we get everything in place to do it fast. We're going to do different types. We're going to do stuff at his home, at my home, in the field. But the first thing we have to do is get the ability to do a really well organized and sounding podcast with great sound, of course, on Zoom with call recorder. With that, let's get into this episode. I'm going to cut it up a lot. And remember, monetize something. Monetize something. If you could take one thing away. At the end, I'll give you my link to doTERRA. How's that?
And API,
take care.
Kind of more of a technical track, but learn some really cool things. Another cool app I just found out about it, AppPress. This is really kind of cool. And I think anyway, it allows you to convert any WordPress site into an iPhone and an Android app at the same time. So that's pretty cool. You just run it through their stuff, and then it pops out on the other end as an app. So that's kind of cool. SiteGround. I mean, there's a lot of people there. There are about 800 people there in Miami, and a lot of swag, lots of things that they gave away. I mean, it just goes on and on. I mean, we had to go buy a suitcase to bring all the swag home. I think we spent $100 to get the swag home. So that really makes sense, doesn't it?
Miami is like LA, WordPress-wise. And Orange County is the big one out here. And then they're wonderful. I think they're a lot of fun. For $40, you can't beat them for, if you live local too, like you're in LA. Oh, this sound sucks. And notice my camera wasn't even right last time, and I didn't have my lights on. Oh, the sound sucks. I hate Zoom for podcasts. Well, on with the show, and let's get to something more exciting. Like, how do we monetize this stuff?
Nerds running around, and met some cool people. Met a guy named, it goes by the name of Triple J, who I guess developed BuddyPress. So I got to talk with him afterwards because I'm using it as part of one of my training platforms. And just met, I think networking was the big score there. It's just connecting with all the people and the movers and shakers and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, good learning point here, and about being with the movers and shakers and meeting the right people, it rubs off on you. And some of their monetization will rub off on you too. So anyway, good point there, Ron. I just know all these people, and yet I'm really the novice in the WordPress back then, because I was the guy who they were teaching how to develop a business and learn WordPress, and then we had the pros all around me. But WordCamps are amazing for $40. You'll find different kind of people. You find people without much or just learning. You'll find advanced. You'll find very wealthy people sitting right next to you. But they sell out pretty fast. They're funded primarily by the vendors who work around WordPress. Some of those vendors are pretty interesting to talk to. You talk to some of the vendors?
Oh, a lot of them, yeah. I mean, it's interesting, talking to SiteGround, because they're from Eastern Europe, and they had a couple reps there, and we were talking about advantages and disadvantages and compared to other hosting platforms and scalability and all this other stuff. It gave me a chance to really kind of learn a lot. And the mastermind was also good. In fact, there was one thing I liked about the mastermind. I thought it was pretty smart. after lunch, right, you're always a little bit kind of like sleepy, right, from all the food. And they did a smart thing. They said, we're going to do something a little different. Yeah, right. It works. In tune. But no, what they did was brilliant. They said, okay, right now we're going to go around the room for the next hour, and we're just all going to share our favorite app that we play with that has changed our lives in some way. And so everybody wakes up for that, right? Because they all want to know, oh, what's the other cool thing? I probably ended up with, 20 new apps that all were just amazing, really amazing apps. So that was I think is a really cool idea. So, if we do, and also I think that I was talking with Infusionsoft last week, and they're interested in having me do Infusionsoft user groups here. So, and they said, hey, they'll kick some money toward helping out and whatever. So,
was Infusionsoft there?
No, they weren't there. It was mostly WordPress, and Infusionsoft isn't really a WordPress. What makes Infusionsoft WordPress are some of the other apps like Membarium and stuff like that.
But one thing, I've got a theory, is what we're doing, this environment, this digital environment, there is just so much to do. You have to understand it all, but you cannot be an expert in everything. You have to know enough to hire the right people.
That's for sure.
And neither one of us want to do that. We're like these jack of all.
That was one of my primary reasons for going to WordCamp, right? Is just to make sure that people knew, that I was looking for people to work on stuff. And I got a bunch of names of people that are interested in working with me. So that was my primary mission to go to WordCamp, was to find people.
Well, we're going to cut this at 10 minutes. I've got about 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. I want to just mention a couple of things. I'm really happy to have you on this podcast. This is like a new podcast. It will grow and get better. Right now we're using Zoom, which I prefer not to use down the road. We're going to work on the quality. But when you start your podcast, you don't have to worry about quality. It's more important that you do that 10-minute show, that you get it up.
Oh, I can't take this anymore. I've got to put music in for the rest of this podcast.
It's free. It's online. It's
and this vlog.
Go to podcastershome.com. And we're doing basically the evolution of that basic course. And it's a good course. It'll get you up in 4 hours. So, but the idea is the number of shows we start building, those will all start getting SEO and neat things will happen. And then you'll look back and they'll be good. At some point though, around 2030, we should be producing very, very good quality shows all the way around. But it takes that time.
Yeah, one thing I was going to say
By the way, I always turn off your phone when you start a podcast. That was not Microsoft, that was Google calling. Oops, hold on, Google. Call me back in 5 minutes, please. Thank you. Sorry. That's I have developer accounts with them. So
yeah,
I'm actually talking to developers in that environment. But I wanted to mention some things. While you're gone, I actually learned Dash. I'm using Lifter.
Yeah.
But it's learn ScreenFlow inside and out and become an expert at ScreenFlow.
Or Camtasia. Yeah.
And one last thing I'll say that really helps is going back to the basics of just drawing out your flow on a piece of paper and then sketching out before you do it, just your sketches of how you're doing something. So I've got a lot I could talk about. We've got real estate, got all sorts of things, but there's not enough time. My little clock says we're at 10 minutes and 28 seconds.
So I'm going to throw one thing quick out to you. And, when I first met Bill, he always had those earphones, those Apple earphones hanging out of him. Yeah, right. And I'm noticing, because I've never used that, right? But Bill always had those on before. And I'm kind of saying, you don't need that stuff if you don't want it.
You get better sound, though, with them in. You get slightly better sound.
Yeah, maybe. But
a little bit is coming into the dynamic mics are coming around the mic.
Yeah. Anyway, just this is a thought. You don't have to do that, but you can do that if you want.
I think it's more important to get the content up, but if people will listen to your show if they like the first few minutes, first few 30 seconds.
Yep. So, well, time to
you completely don't just cut off your recording and stay on for a couple seconds.
Sure.
Hopefully,
have a good one. Keep smiling, everybody.
I told them to call me back at 2.
Okay, we survived episode 4, so go ahead and subscribe right here. And here's my link to doTERRA I promised.